Yo, welcome to the Table Talk podcast, where we sit down, pull up a chair, and we get started. This podcast is designed to provide you packed full of information to help you with your training, nutrition, lifestyle, and well-being, where we interview myself through case studies to give you lifetime experience. And then we also interview high-performing individuals or other career-focused people who are looking to make changes in their lifestyle, training, nutrition, and well-being. So let's pull up that chair and let's go. Yo, welcome to the next episode with Andy Campbell. So part 2, diving a little bit deeper into more of what he does. So Andy is a breakthrough coach. A little bit about myself. Long ago, Carl had a mum and a father. I know that's how he was conceived. But when Carl was about 6 years old, mum had multiple sclerosis and his mother had to leave. And Carl had ADHD, dyslexia, you name it. I had all of the acronyms and stuff because Carl was the dumb kid in school and couldn't spell for squat, still can't, and got picked on and became the problem kid. Long and behold, my mother passed away. Like I had to always travel to see my mum every year because it was the negotiations between the parents. And my dad worked 12, 16-hour days. Always worked, was never there, and I was always being cared for. So I never really had a family that loved me. And when there were arguments, I would be beaten to shut up. And that was kind of the story that I told myself, and I was really just not loved. And so as I grew up, I used to have partners and would always get into fights. And long and behold, I got into the self-development process or journey, learning and evolving my skills in training, nutrition. And it was only till I met a man called Mark Atterbury and Andy and a few other people started to hear about others like Demartini, Tony Robbins, and understanding that, mindset plays a big part. And I worked a lot with Andy one-to-one. If you know Demartini, is a thing called the Breakthrough Experience, and it was quite powerful. It's pretty much, I would say it's a 4 or 5 day event, but it's condensed in 2, because a lot of people, when you're fresh and energized, you are fresh and full of excuses. No. And I wasn't really willing. And so I was kind of broken down, obviously by choice and consent, but realized that the resentment I had towards my mother and my father was really just, something I kind of cooked up. And so I worked a lot with Andy to kind of break through and understand really the positives and the negatives. Like my mum didn't choose to have multiple sclerosis. However, because of the multiple sclerosis, it actually put me in a position to learn about health and well-being to help my mother at an early age. And so I was watching and learning about fish oils and nutrients. And, from there, it was that was what I would say is the blessing, from all the Tony Robbins, but Andy would say and we're going to get him to explain it more, but, the negatives was my mother was left. However, the positives was that because of this, I learned, I upskilled, and now I am who I am as a trainer and a coach. And, that's what neutralized that it was never my mother's fault. It's that's how I worked around it. And time heals, as we talk about grief and that area, time will heal. But working with Andy helped me to work on it sooner. And from conversations, and Andy, I'd love your opinion on this, is that some people can go their whole life and not resolve it. And it can just be that chip on their shoulder that when it comes up, it's always just versus working with you or any breakthrough coach. Because you got the Tony Robbins who are results-focused coaches, and then you got Demartini who's a breakthrough consultant coach, but really just finding that person you can talk to that can help guide you through it to understand those positives and negatives, or as other people, some people would say blessings and challenges or just lessons to grow. So you can call it what you want, but we've got Andy here because I've worked with him personally and I've found him very helpful. Because there's been times where we talk till 2, 3 a.m. because the stories that we make out can be require quite a lot of unwinding and undoing. So thanks for coming on to this episode today, Andy. Really keen to hear, well, hopefully you're not Carl was a tough one, but understand more about how you start with someone. What's the journey? I guess let's start with, how did you get into this? Where have you, what have you done for the last 6 years to get you to where you are now? And then talk more about what's the initial start and what your recommendations are, and we'll just work through that.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. This might be a slightly longer version. It might be a little bit more than 40 minutes. If you're looking at it, it might be 90 minutes. So strap in, get some tea, get your fluids in. Let's go.
Sounds good.
So yeah, we know that you started in Auckland, or you heard about Demartini at a training seminar, and then off you went to Auckland, learnt it, and then from there, so from your first experience with Demartini, where did you go from there? Like, were you hooked and you were doing all of his courses, or tell us, start from the beginning.
Well, like I was saying, the beginning, I first heard about it from Mark Tobre. He mentioned a few words on him. So I went and did Demartini's course in Auckland, breakthrough experience. That really opened up the world of personal development, human behavior for me, because I was always curious about, like, why do we do what we do as humans, and why do we sometimes say we're going to do one thing and then not follow through on it, and that always really interests me. So when I came across this program, my experience up until this point was personal development is where you go to an event and there's a lot of music and you're dancing around and you're standing on your chair and it's a fun, hypey time. And I was always like not really into it. I was kind of like, I don't want to dance on my chair and I just want to learn things. And so then
get back to the topic, please.
Yeah, just get to the information I want to learn. I don't want to dance on my chair. And then when I found out this, I was like, oh wow, that's how human behavior works. It's not about hyping yourself up to do something you want to do. It's about understanding what you actually love to do. And then that takes away all the restriction from it. So when I saw that in Breakthrough, I was like, I want to go and learn more. And so there's all these different higher level courses in it, which I then went and pursued after that.
Yeah. And do you still do a lot of the courses, like personally? So I think there's a point where you're doing like 4-6 courses a year.
Yeah, I'm still learning a lot about it. So I suppose to give context to people, the mentor, Dr. Demartini, he's a polymath. So he went and studied all these different religions, every different science, every different ology, geology, astrology, all of these different subjects. And then he's then looking at human behavior through the lens of all of these disciplines instead of looking at it just through psychology or just through psychiatry or whatever it is. And so he's then got all this information and he's sharing it on human behavior. And so there's then his specialty is sharing information. So there's always another level of understanding. But I'm still learning a lot of his courses, and then it's just another level, and there's always another level of understanding about what drives you as a person. So still learning a lot about it.
Cool. What's your top, is there a top 3 or top 4 or 5, of the things that you've learned that really resonate with you constantly?
Top things that I've learned, I suppose one is everything that's going on in your life is, believe it or not, going on to try and get you authentic. So this one is kind of like when your body overheats, you're going to sweat to try and regulate yourself. And then if you're too cold, you're going to shiver to try and regulate yourself. So you're trying to equilibrate. So you got your fan. But then the same thing's going on mentally. So if I get really hyped up, then Carl might kind of criticize me, but he's not doing it because he hates me. He's doing it because I'm hyped and he's trying to bring me back to authentic Andy. If I'm really down, then you're going to bring me up and say it's not that bad because he wants authentic.
Get in the chair.
But we're just not always aware of it.
Yeah, that's only because you're not in your chair.
Yeah.
So challenges, whatever's going through your life is there really just to bring you back to your authentic self. So if you're hot, your body's looking to get cooler. If you're too cold, your body's looking to heat you up so you can stay in your authentic state.
So that happens physically with your body, but it's also happening mentally in your mind. If you're exaggerating yourself anytime someone exaggerates, you have a tendency to want to cut them down. And some people feel bad about it. Oh, why do I feel bad? Because they're exaggerating themselves. And then if they're down, it's like you want to bring them up, but you're always trying to get them in the center, which is where they're authentic and they're themselves, kind of thing.
So would that mean, so if someone's being dodgy to me and you have that gut feeling that's not quite right, that's your body wanting you to like project to make it authentic to them? You know, when like you have that gut feeling, so you're like, something's up here, but then a lot of people don't say anything, and then later they're like, oh, knew that was a problem. It's like in that moment they weren't being genuine, and you have that gut feeling like, I don't think they're being genuine, but instead of saying anything, you just kind of hold off, and so it builds and builds and builds until you're like, oh, I have to make it authentic. But then sometimes it can be too late.
Yeah, like you have a sense in the back of your mind that you're overlooking something. It's like when you go and do goal setting, and it's like you set a goal in the back of your mind, you're a little bit anxious. It's like, well, I don't know if I can achieve it. And then that's there to let you know you're overlooking a piece of it and you're feeling anxious about it, but you're not conscious of what it is. And then when you're talking to someone, they feel dodgy, unconsciously you're noticing something about them that you're maybe not wanting to go into business with or whatever it is, but you don't consciously notice it, but it's there unconsciously. And so you have a feeling, but you can't kind of pick up on it.
Yeah. Until you've later on get the information, you're like, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there much misconception in the breakthrough space, or like in the DeMartini area, that people have? Or I guess, you work more in the mindset space, but what about, the statement of you've got to change your physiology to be able to change your psychology? So like, Tony Robbins gets people moving, and that's how they have their breakthrough, because a lot of people physically like represent they're stuck. And you've probably worked with people, then once they have that realization, they're more open. So getting them moving makes it easier to get them into a state to get them to change.
And so the question is there a lot of misconceptions in that?
Yeah, in these areas, like, well, I guess to retranslate would be, in the last 7 years, have you seen a lot of misconception around this area that you work in that you'd want to debunk?
Well, there's a few things. It's like in any industry, there's going to be degrees of what you're working with. So there's the person that, for example, is looking for a counselor to talk about their problems, that they're not maybe wanting to solve them, but they're wanting to talk about them. And in the next level, they might realize that, oh, maybe I'm responsible to some degree, and then they're wanting to learn more about that. And then the next level, they're like, oh, I'm the cause of the problem, and then they're wanting to break through the problem. So different people have got different motives. And then I suppose one of the misconceptions in the industry is, like, when I first learned about therapy or psychology, I thought it was like something that you go when there's a problem and there's something wrong with you. And then over the last 7 years, it's more learning that actually it's something that you're doing to strengthen yourself, better understand yourself. So I look at it now as mindset coaching or breakthrough coaching is like your weight training, but for your mind. And so if you don't do weight training, you get stiff and you get sore and you've got physical symptoms. And the same thing with the mind. If you don't train your mind, you're going to have mental symptoms, anxiety, or you're going to be mentally rigid, or I see them kind of similar with the strength and the mental one.
Okay. So translating that would be, if I can, is that so the misconception is most people may have something, and what we might say disorder, but the disorder is occurring like if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling nervous, you feel like sick to your stomach. Like I remember ages ago, like Kate used to make big to-do lists until she was so anxious, like gut pain, puking her guts out, and then she would then take the action on it. So the misconception is like, that's normal versus, well, no, actually, that this is all happening for you. The thing you need to understand is what is the gap there, so you can continue to work on the gap to strengthen your mind more frequently and sooner, so you can actually, instead of building these big off to-do lists, just start and do what you need to do. Because what you're doing or what's happening may cause a disorder or challenge in you, that's not necessarily needing to be there, but with the right tools and sessions, you can actually strengthen yourself to act on it sooner and faster, to move forward quicker, rather than take all that time of what you're currently doing.
Well, yeah, for me, disorder is you're missing information in your awareness. So the example with Kate with the long to-do list, she writes out all the to-do list and then she has the gut pain and whatever. And that's not random. That's a physical symptom that's trying to let her know that you're overlooking all of the challenges in this to-do list. You're not going to get it done by the date that you're setting. There's a lot of unrealistic expectations in your time here with this to-do list.
Was that a challenge? She'll take you. She will crush you.
If she's getting a anxious or a gut feeling, then her body's trying to tell her that maybe the expectation on the time for the to-do list is off.
So the thing to help bridge the gap is being brain is probably being, being more compassionate to self and being like just one at a time. Like, don't set such unrealistic expectations. Be more realistic.
Yeah, it's like I think your body and your mind are giving you symptoms to try and get you to set realistic expectations. And it's like when you set a goal, and if you get as realistic as a time frame as possible and as realistic as everything involved as possible, it's like if I set a goal to have a glass of water, I know how long it's going to take, I know what's involved, I know everything about it. There's no physical symptom. I just go and do the thing. You just did it just then. But then if I set a more complex goal and I'm overlooking a component of the goal, then I'm going to get some kind of symptom to let me know there's something missing.
Ooh, simplify. So let's talk then into that. So for a lot of us, people it's like, huh? How would we simplify it? I guess the way to look at this would be, I'm currently feeling that I've got a challenge. I don't know how to, I'm tired all the time. So like, for example, a lot of people be like, yeah, it's the afternoon, tired, lethargic, don't like feeling tired. I'm training 4 times a week. I should feel more energized. I should feel better. Like people say, eat your calories, stick to your macros, and I still just feel it's got to be a better way. I guess hearing and speaking with you, what would the journey be working with you and to help them get more energy and vitality if the training and the nutrition isn't really working? Because I guess that's where that's how I kind of got into it, is like I'm doing the training and nutrition and I hit a roadblock. So once I've hit that, it's like, this is what everyone says to do. Where do you come in and how does that work?
Well, with like the energy levels, I think considering the mental and the physical aspect of it, because it's going to be both, right? And see if this person is hitting their training, hitting their nutrition, and they're doing everything, but they're feeling tired, then it sounds like, okay, the nutrition, the physical is on point, but then the mental, something's missing. Because often people overlook that mental component. Because if, for example, you set yourself a task and it's something that really drains your energy and you really don't like doing the thing, you're going to drain your energy. If someone then comes up to you and says, hey, we're going to do this thing that you absolutely love doing, then all of a sudden you're energized and you can do it. And it's like, where did the energy come from? Well, it came from setting yourself something that you love doing instead of setting yourself something that you are drained by. And so that component of understanding what it is for you and then going and doing something that energizes you on top of also the training and the nutrition, the physical component.
Can you do something too much? Like, could I do stuff that's so unfulfilling for so long that the things that excite me are no longer exciting?
Well, I mean, if you're doing something that's unfulfilling for so long, every time you do it, you're going to be feeling lethargic and lacking energy and draining.
Yep.
But then the moment you go and do something that you're really inspired by, that you really love to do, then the energy comes back in that moment. It's like you're energized to go and do it.
Okay. So if we're every physical and everything is on point, then it wouldn't really matter. It would obviously, once in the moment, the really exciting thing comes along, you're like, yep. But then if there's physical challenges as well, then it might be different.
Yeah. If there's a person that's doing everything physically, the nutrition, the training, everything, and they're lacking energy, then okay, we need to look at what they're doing with their time. But if you've got someone that isn't taking care of the physical, then that's obviously going to be a factor of it as well.
Which will start to take effect. Yes.
The mental is often overlooked. Like I never knew about the mental component until I got into all the mindset stuff that I do now. I was training. I was like, oh, well, I'm drinking water. I'm eating the food. I'm doing the training. Why am I tired? And then I was like, oh, it's the stuff that I'm focusing on. When I focus on something I love to do, then the energy's there. And it's like you just want to do more of it. And because, I mean, everyone has something that they're doing. And it's like someone comes up and says, oh, hey, do you want to go get a coffee? And it's like, no, not right now. I'm focused on this thing. I want to do this thing. And it's like, I've got energy to do this thing. I don't want to get a coffee. So everyone's got that already and they're doing it already, but some people are aware of what it is. And then other people, they do it, but they're just not consciously aware of what it is, but it's in their routine because they automatically do it unconsciously because they love to do it.
Okay. So how can we do that all the time? So I'm feeling tired, lethargic. It feels like it's not quite working. I've heard of this Andy guy. What are we doing? Where do we go?
Well, I have a questionnaire that people who are interested in figuring out what this is for them, if they're not aware of what it is, it just looks at because they're doing it automatically, because the thing that you value most, you do unconsciously. Whenever you got spare time, you go and do it. I have a questionnaire on my website, on my Instagram. And
what drives your behavior? Got a picture of Andy suited up. And schmick. Ooh. Got a few more things. Mindset coaching is for athletes that want to maximize performance, individuals that want help getting out of our relationships, individuals that want to transform grief or loss, individuals that want to dissolve conflict, experience more love, appreciation, connection with their partner, individuals that want to find more meaning and purpose in life, coaches, facilitators, individuals that want to resolve depression, anxiety, and perceived traumas, individuals that want breakthrough plateaus and mental blocks. And we've got quite a few social proofs. Nice.
But if you go to andycampbell.com.au/drive, then there's a questionnaire that can help.
Oh, my review's not in here. Ooh.
Is your review on Google?
Yeah.
It'll be on the
outrageous.
It'll be in the Google section down the bottom.
Yeah, I didn't see it. You got 27 and I only think I saw 13. Identify what drives your behavior. Get your free personal psychology improvement. Oh, very nice. Is this your app, the Mindset Mastery, or the Google Sheet you've made?
Which one are you on?
I'm on the Drive. Let me share.
Drive is the questionnaire you can download.
Yep. Get your free personal psychology imprint. This is your Google Sheet you made?
Yeah.
Looks good. Like it.
So this basically tells you where your energy is, where your focus is. Like you were saying at one point you had ADHD. And so this sheet would tell you where you have a surplus of attention if you are experiencing a deficit of attention, for example.
Nice. Looks great, man. Teachable. Love it. All right, so we would start with the test and it would tell me how amazing I am. And then where do we go from here? You would just call me and be like, hey, man, you're a legend. Don't worry about it. Or you're too much of a legend. We need to neutralize this.
Well, it'll just bring your attention onto
unlegendary things.
Carl's legendary area of his life.
Yep.
It'll draw attention to that area.
Should I just double down, hunker in on it, and just keep being the legend that I am, or work on the gaps?
I I think it's becoming conscious of where you're a legend and then just being more of a legend.
So just keep doing what I am legendary at.
Yep. That's what people come to Vitruvian for.
Yeah. And just wear headphones to block out the naysayers. No, that's not true.
Or the naysayers are trying to equilibrate you.
Yeah, looking at neutralize me. No. Get whatever. Okay. Well, let's go into another topic which I always enjoy is, so I work in corporate and I get ulcers in my mouth. I have meetings all the time and my boss tells me what to do, but I get ulcers or headaches and migraines. What is your interpretation of that?
Well, I think when we're stressed, when we're doing things that we don't really love to do, then our body gives us physical symptoms to try and get us back to what we love to do. So headaches and migraines, very commonly, there's a conflict going on internally between what you think you should do based on your boss or your parents or whoever it is and what you actually want to do. And there's tension there, and then you can have a tension headache. And so I think your body gives you symptoms to try and get you back focused and get you back authentic.
Looking to neutralize you, your body will look to neutralize you with tension headaches, because then you remove yourself from those meetings. Or because
in the moment when you're doing something that you're inspired by, you're focused on it, you're present with it, and you're there, you're in it. But then when you're doing something you think you should be doing based on the boss or whoever the authority is that telling you what you should do, there's a part of you that doesn't really want to be there, and there's a part of you that's trying to please or appease the boss or whatever it is. And so then there's a conflict between those two personas, the part that wants to go and do what they love to do and the part that thinks that they should please someone, or the part that wants to get paid or whatever it is. But there's a conflict between those two personas, and then whenever there's an internal conflict, it's going to manifest symptoms.
Yeah. So we've got a behavioral assessment, and then we talk with you, and then we look at symptoms or challenges or obstacles that people would experience and look to understand the positives and negatives of those.
Yeah. It's like understanding the bigger picture of what's going on.
Yeah. Because really, probably to retranslate this would be usually so everyone has obstacles and challenges in their life. Some take longer than others. How can I break this down as quickly as possible to move forward to the next level? And where would you fit into that to help me as quickly as possible? Because we all have challenges and obstacles. I guess one, are there a list of questions we could use to help self? And two, where do you fit in to help me leverage it as best as possible to get ahead of it sooner?
Well, if there's a challenge or an obstacle going on, then we're seeing challenge without support. We're seeing obstacle without path forward. So we're seeing negative without positive. So we're only seeing half of the dynamic. We're not seeing the bigger picture. So then in terms of, is there questions that I can ask? Well, in that moment when it's like when you got a microscope and you're looking at something under the microscope, and so you're zooming in, and then you zoom in on like the little creature in the microscope, and you're so zoomed into one section of it that you overlook another section of it. And it's like the same thing mentally. We zoom into something and we see all the negative of it, but then if you zoom out and you see the bigger picture, you realize that, oh, there's the positive, there's the negative, it's got both. So in terms of what I'm doing, it's just asking people a different set of questions so they can see a holistic view of what's going on. If they're so zoomed into a problem, I'm just asking questions to help them zoom out to see problem and solution to the same degree, so they can get past the obstacle, move on to the next thing.
Is there certain questions we could ask ourselves? So, for example, if I'm like looking right at this microphone real close, I can't really see you, would a question be like, hey, just lean back? And I'm like, oh, hey, Andy. And so I've got the mic and I've got you. Or, is there other questions to be asking when facing an obstacle? Let's make it simple. What are 3 questions we could ask ourselves to overcome an obstacle?
Well, if it's something that is an obstacle, then there's the assumption in your mind is it's a problem and it's an obstacle, it's an issue. So then asking, okay, I know that it's a problem, but I can't see how it's serving me. So then it's asking, how is whatever I am perceiving as an obstacle actually helping me to get where I want to go? So that's like the last question you would ask in that situation, because people will say, well, it's not helping me, it's in the way,
yeah,
it's blocking me. But then if you ask, how's it helping me, you're actually changing what you're looking for in your environment. And so then your eye stuck in your microphone is no longer looking for microphone, it's now looking for something completely different. And so only then does your eye move and find something different.
Yeah. Staring at a microphone doesn't help.
Yeah, because the microphone becomes your world and you think it's the whole world is just microphone until you ask a different question, then your eye comes out of the microphone.
Yeah. Have you ever had a major challenge or an obstacle that you felt, I guess, with your experience, do you find you get stuck with obstacles or challenges often? Because you're looking to self-develop and you're moving at a faster pace than what someone who wouldn't. Do some obstacles take longer than others, even though you now have the skill set and the questions to overcome it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, for me, the way I understand it is the closer the obstacle is to what you value most, the easier it is to surmount it, because it's valuable, you are aware of more information, so high probability of seeing how the obstacle is serving you. But if it's an obstacle in an area of your life that you don't value as much, then it's harder to get past it, because it's like you want to put all your time into whatever's important. And so then if for example, business is most important and you've got a relationship challenge, well, most of your attention is going to go to business because you value it more. And so the relationship challenge is going to take longer to get past that obstacle because all your attention is going somewhere else.
Mm.
So I find that the obstacles in the area of what you value most are easier to get past, and the obstacles in the lower value areas are lingering for a longer period of time.
But my partner, however, in my relationship, my partner helps support me with my kids. If I ignore the partner long enough, that relationship starts to break. So would we look at the question of how can the relationship provide and support me with the business? So then I look at it to solve it at the same rate as what I would of my highest value being business?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's like, if you can see how your relationship and your partner is helping you with your business, then you're shifting your perspective of it to, or actually, if my partner's fulfilled, then I get more out of the business. And so if you can see that helping the partner helps the business, you're going to have a higher priority on helping the partner.
Okay. So in summary, we all have obstacles and challenges, though we may not be able to observe them at the same rate because we have different values. The ones that are highest on the list, we tend to overcome sooner rather than later because they're highest value and we're more in it, versus something less. So if we value business over relationship, we'll tend to resolve business challenges easier or obstacles compared to the relationship. Though you have a questionnaire to help people see what their raw values are, and then you work with them one-to-one or in your program to help them to ask better questions, to help them connect, say, a lower value to a higher value, and see how, if you worked on your lower value, it would help support your higher value. So though this is easier, you can now make this easier because the two are connected. And by doing that, you can move forward and overcome that obstacle sooner.
Yeah, 100%.
Sandy, in your opinion, what are the major opportunities or challenges in the industry and you feel you'll be facing this year? Well, you can mention the porn industry if you felt like it, but be a little off topic.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
the major challenges in it.
Yeah, challenges or opportunities.
Or opportunities in it. Well, I think it's like, it's always going to be needed because like the way that I look at it, everything we do through your mind. Like your relationships, you relate to someone through your mind. Your business, you do through your mind. Your finances, you do through your mind. So they're all just relationships that we form with things. And so there's always opportunity in this area, because if you can help people with the mental side of whatever they're doing, they're going to have a better relationship with it. They're going to get more out of it. So I see it as something that's always going to be there, and it's always going to be helpful, and there's always opportunity. The major thing in this area is bringing the awareness to it, and bringing the awareness to how important the mental side is, because it's easy to overlook.
Yeah. How so? Like, what do you mean it's easy to overlook?
Well, it's kind of like the example you were giving before about the energy levels. Like, people will know that, oh, energy levels, what am I eating? What's my sleep like? They'll think of the physical, but they won't always think of, oh, maybe I'm tired because I'm focusing on something that people are telling me to do that I don't have any interest in. And so my attention's going somewhere else. And that's why I'm tired, because I'm not interested in the thing. And so people won't think about the mental. They'll typically go straight to the physical a lot of the time.
Okay.
It's like intangible, so it's difficult to kind of grasp, I suppose.
What about, okay, well, let's talk then. What are the biggest challenges at the moment for you based off your line of work? Because, you know, well, who was like the School of Greatness were talking about how like women versus men overcome challenges. Like women will talk with one another versus men need to be doing something in a physical setting, like fixing something or doing something together before they start to open up. So, you know, if you're doing a one-to-one and you're not being physical, then it's for that statement, males would be harder to connect with to have that breakthrough just through conversation compared to females. Is that a big challenge you see, or is there other challenges that you're observing with the work you do?
Well, I think with the mindset, can be a difficult challenge to go into initially, because something comes up and it's like, if it's something that you feel bad about, you don't want to talk about it, and so then that can keep it kind of suppressed. And so then it's starting a conversation around it, and then education is the most important thing. The more you learn about your mind and your emotions, the more you understand them, the easier it is to then talk about it, because you realize that it's not a bad thing, it's just my perspective of it is a bad thing. So for me, education is really important. The more you know and understand about mindset and mental health, that I suppose easier it becomes, because the more you know something, like the less illusion there is, and the less you think it's something bad, the more you see the bigger picture of it, the easier it becomes to talk about.
What about in the instance where it's like, I have a problem at the moment. So, you know, like 23 and a half hours a day, I feel great. Got my music, I'm pumping, doing my thing, loving life. And then Kate says something to me and it rubs me the wrong way. And then, you know, that format changes. And so in that moment, I become aware. I'm like, okay, this is a challenge. So I think about, you know, somehow one day I come across, you know, DeMartini yourself, and I look at your page, and then eventually, like, because that takes time, and you know, I get a little tired from that. I'm like, I'll look at it another time, right? And then happens again later, in like a week later, same thing. Okay, I've now got, you know, the Andy Campbell thing going on. I've now got the questionnaire. So it builds to a point before people take action, but from the point that they book in to see you, they're no longer like at that same state or living in that area of effect anymore, until like you call them and reach out, and then like, oh, I'm fine. You know, there was a reason why they called. No, it's okay now. And then 2-3 days it happens again. So how do you work with that? Because that's, you know, we all have obstacles and challenges, right? Yet not all of us take action on it to the same degree. How do you overcome that? Because, you know, you have the skill sets to help someone, but in that moment, not so much compared to like someone who's like really feeling the pain of it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it's interesting because like you say, when you're in the pain, you take action, and then when it goes away, it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about it. A lot of it comes down to the motivation of the individual and when they're ready to make a change. Because it's like, I can ask them all the questions in the world, but if they have no interest in answering them, then I can't really do anything for them. But if they have an intention of, okay, I want to make a change here, then and only then can I ask them questions that can facilitate the change that they want to make. So it comes down to the degree that they're interested in changing. And for some people, it's going to be like a long, drawn out process where eventually they have enough of it. And in other times, it's more like something huge happens and then they want to shift it. But then I think also, like, if someone, let's say that scenario that you mentioned, someone has something that happens, they put in a booking, a week later it comes up like, oh, it's not really affecting me now. I think that's where the compassion aspect is helpful, because if I'm then sharing something that's going on in my life that's similar to them, they then realize that, oh, it's not just me that's going through this, everyone's going through, similar stuff. That also allows people to open up, because they realize that I'm not the only one in the world that's struggling with this stress. Other people are struggling with this stress. And then they realize it's not just a me thing. It's most of the time a universal thing, that a lot of people are struggling with the same challenge that you're going through. Yes. I think that makes it easier as well.
Your problem is not your own. Get a real problem.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, because when you're going through the problem, you kind of, your focus becomes so narrowed on the problem, and you think that, oh, I'm the only one going through, like, you don't even think about the fact that there's probably thousands of other people going through the same thing.
What are your thoughts about, well, then suck it up. Just get on with it.
It's not probably the most helpful advice in the world, because it's like, that's why I like education, because it's like, I'd rather teach them why they're experiencing it and help them understand it. But suck it up is like, well, that's not really going to get you out of the situation, right?
Well, ready? Suck it in. All right, let's go.
And what was the effect? Did it work for you?
I just tightened up.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, you can tighten up. Just let me know how long you can last for.
Yeah.
What is your do you have your own, like, personal, like, the biggest challenge yourself?
Biggest challenge for me
that you're willing to share.
The biggest challenge for me, so obviously my values are around the mindset side of things. My challenge is, I suppose, then the business side of things. So building the business. So I've learned a lot about this over the last couple of years, but there's always like more challenges for me in business. Like, I'll learn something and then I'll run into the next challenge. And so my thing is, I want to kind of take this information and share it with as many people as possible. And so my greatest challenge that I keep coming up against is, okay, how can I then grow what I'm doing? How can I reach more people? How can I expand my business? How can I reach more people?
But isn't that a challenge in itself? Because the more you learn about business is less time towards the human psychology and behavior to help the people.
Yep.
How do you, so there's like, and to probably give relevance to some people, like, they might be, I'm doing the work, but then I also need to do the work if I want the promotion. But the work for the promotion isn't actually the work I'm doing now. So there's like this ebb and flow between the two. It's like you kind of need to do the work now. You also need to work on the future at the same time and finding that balance. So how do you manage that expectation? Because, how do you manage that ebb and flow?
Well, I try to...
You try? Oh.
Find people that better at business, they've got a higher value at business than I do.
Mhm.
Because it's like they'll have the solutions, whereas I probably won't see the solutions. So that's what I do as much as possible. Find people who have a value on business, because they're the ones that are going to be helping me in business. Whereas if I try and do it myself, it's like you say, my focus is probably going to go back to the mindset pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
Have you heard, so on tangent of that, have you heard of Dan Martell's buyback time principle?
Nope.
Talks about like when you run into the roadblocks of things you don't really want to be doing, you'll either look to sell, sabotage, or stall your progress. As you're saying, like find someone, instead of like always doing the things on your own, you're like find someone else who's done it to help speed up that process, so I don't have to spend so much time on it, so I'm not stalling for longer. Okay. It's a good book. You should read it.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
Give more time.
Yeah, because I find if I do it myself, it's like
break your finger.
Yeah. Doesn't get done.
Okay. But when it comes to staying up to date with trends and what's going on, do you feel in the psychology space or the mindset space, there's actually a need to be doing a lot? Or is it more like, should you be watching more videos on it? Or is it really there's a lot of information in books and audibles already out there? My God, that was terrible. Just edit that out. Oh, okay. So when it comes to staying up to date, Andy, with trends and what's going on in the world versus what you do, how do you stay on top of it? Because like you're building your business, you're helping your clients, you want to do more consultations and more breakthroughs, but then you're also studying at the same time. So you're putting on all these hats. Like how do you stay like on top of it all so you keep growing rather than just being like, I can't do it all. I'm overwhelmed, and you just get paralysis.
With this staying up to date with trends, I suppose there's two parts of it for me. So for the psychology aspect of it, like in that area, I like the classics, the universal principles that we learn, like that you would have learned in Breakthrough. So it's like there's universal laws and they stand the test of time, and then there's going to be trends that come in and out. But I focus on the universal laws in that area. And then in terms of the trends with the technology and whatnot, I'm in a couple of masterminds, and so that they're kind of bringing them to my attention. And so I find that's helpful.
So in a few mastermind groups, so working with a multitude of professionals to help accelerate. So they give you the information of the trends and what's going on, so you don't have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
Very nice. And last but not least is, what are you currently working on improving in yourself?
Relationship with myself. So I'm always working on better understanding myself. I think it's an ever going thing, because it's always like, oh, I think this is what I'm about. And then it's like next week it's like, oh, actually this is what I'm about. And then it's like, this is what I'm about. And so I think there's always a next level of understanding of yourself. And that's what I'm always, I suppose, improving on or wanting to learn more about. And it's like the more that you understand yourself, the more you're appreciative of your behavior, the less mental noise going on.
Do you do affirmations to be like, I am beautiful, I'm the best? I do that because you've got really like lovely, luscious hair. So I'm just like, man, does he like just like, you know, it's part of that shit. You're like, I am so beautiful to me. Can't you see? Yes, I can.
That song in front of the mirror. Is that the kind of affirmations we're looking at?
Would you do that? Because you definitely could do that. I believe in you. I believe you have the power to do that.
Well, I think affirmations, like, I don't do positive affirmations because then my mind is then thinking of all the negatives. But I like to do grounded affirmations that like one affirmation I do have, it's like, if I'm aware of someone challenging me, who's supporting me? If I'm aware of someone supporting me, who's challenging me? And that keeps me present because I'm not getting caught up in, oh, I'm so down because this person's challenging me. Oh, I'm so up because this person's supporting me. It's like, if I'm seeing one, where's the other? And that keeps me grounded.
Can you give us an example?
So I'll say, if I'm aware of someone challenging me who's supporting me, if I'm aware of someone supporting me who's challenging me.
So if I said you're weak, I'm like, oh, you're so weak, Andy. You can't even lift a 10-kilo dumbbell. You would be like, this, instead of being like, Carl's a dick, you're like, oh, Carl is supporting me to become stronger.
Yeah. So then if I get caught up in that and I'm like down on myself for my 10-kilo dumbbell efforts, then it's like, oh, hold on, Carl's challenging me and I'm getting caught up in that. So who thinks I'm strong? And then I'm shifting my focus to the other one. And then if I see both of them, then I don't get distracted by it. I can keep focused on what I'm doing, kind of thing.
And so then you talk to Kate, and Kate's like, yeah, Andy, you're really strong. You could bicep 10 kilos one day. And you're like, thanks, Kate. You're the best.
Yeah. And then, if I see both of them, then it's like I don't get distracted by Carl's criticism or Kate's positive words.
Just get into the gym, you pick up the 9s, and the next week you'll pick up the 10s. And you're like, I've done it.
Yeah.
And then, okay. So you say, I'm being challenged, so where's my supporter?
Yep.
Okay. I'm being challenged, where's my supporter? I'm being supported, where's my challenger? And you just scan that. Okay.
Yeah. So then I'm not getting caught up in, because if I get caught up in the challenger, then that dude is now running my life, and I'm like thinking about, and all of a sudden he's taking over my life. And then if someone's supporting me, then they take over my life.
And then you could, if I'm, in this instance, if I was the challenger, I've taken over your life, you then miss the supporter and you miss the other opportunities.
Yeah. And instead of being productive in my work, whatever I'm doing, I'm just focused on Carl's insults about my 10-kilo weight lifting
abilities. Yeah. So in the relationship, how are you, like, because when it comes to self, right, you're the one that is the challenger or the supporter. You can be both. So how do you work on that in your relationship with yourself? Are you like, I'm beautiful on this side and I'm ugly on this side? And you're like, okay, neutral. I say you're weak. That's a challenge. You are asking yourself, okay, well, where's my supporter? And you see Kate, and she's like, well, Andy, you're doing really well with your training. Like, it sounds like you're crushing it. Great job. You're like, there's my supporter. So you're like, cool. I don't let either of them dictate my life. I will decide. And, I might be weaker today, but, I know that with my training, I've hired a trainer to help me build my strength and my foundation. So you've got those external supports and challenges. But when it comes to yourself, how are you being the supporter and the challenger? Because obviously you're looking to balance it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the self is usually more difficult than the external one. So it's like with the self, it's like practicing trying to catch myself when I get caught in one side or the other. Because it's like sometimes for example, you'll get patting yourself on the back for, look how well I did with this. And then you're in that moment, you're kind of proud of what you're doing. And so then I'm asking myself, well, if I'm focused on how well I did, then I'm ignoring what I overlooked and what I did poorly. And so then the hardest one is when you're proud and looking for the downside, because it's like you want to hold on to the pride. Yeah. And then it's easier when you're shame and you're feeling down. It's easier than look for what you're doing well to balance yourself. But it's just looking for the other side, because it's like if I'm conscious of feeling shame, it's only because I'm focused on all the negative and I'm ignoring the thing that I did well in that moment. But there's always both. It's just where am I choosing to look?
Yeah, which is not easy to do though.
It's very challenging.
Yeah. So like, how do you is this where you pull out your notepad and you start to go, I am proud of myself, stroking hair, and then you write that down, then put a line on, like, right, where am I not proud of myself, or where? using the hair as an example, like you've got lovely hair, where you go, where is somewhere, would it be like in my body or in myself that I don't feel I'm lovely? Like, would you look to flip the words that you're using? Like, example, like invert it. So a lot of people, are like, oh, I hate this about myself. This is bad. This is bad. And like, because we're built for survival as humans. So we'll find out it's easy to find all the faults and the problems versus those opportunities or blessings or things we love. So would you just write them down and then write what's the opposite to it? Or how are you working on that self-relationship?
Because of that survival, being built for survival, it's like your brain's trying to bias your attention into the thing that's going to kill you, and so you're going to focus on, say, the negative thing.
Challenge.
Challenge. So then it's like easier to do when you bring it out of your head. So I like to say it out loud, and it's like, that thing where it's like when it's in your head and then you actually say it out loud, and then the next level is when you say it to someone else. It's like when you then say, oh, this is the thing that's going on, and you say it to someone else. And then when you say it to someone else, oftentimes by the time you've said it, it's like, oh shit, okay. And you have a bigger awareness of it. Just like when you're in your head, you can't see it. When you say it out loud, you see more of it. When you say it to someone else, you see more of it. And so having a conversation around things or writing it down, and then you're looking for the opposite side of it. So if it's something physical, like if you're admiring something about your appearance, then writing down specifically what is it that you're admiring about that aspect. If you're admiring your hair in that example, then you're looking at, okay, well, what's the drawback of the hair? Because if you're admiring the hair, you're assuming that it's a one-sided thing, and there's no one-sided things, there's both sides. So it's looking, well, what's the drawback of the hair? And so, okay, well, I have to style the hair, or sometimes I'm constantly playing with the hair.
Takes me 30 minutes out of my day, which doesn't help me do the X. Costs me $5 a day for this product, and sometimes I don't always get it right, so it takes more time, and I want to actually save money, so like that's $35 a week. Ooh, adds up, and just picking apart. Okay. But then would you then get to a point though, it's like, I really love my hair, these are the obstacles, but then people would be like, yeah, but I do it for these reasons. Like, are they then staying on that side of the fence, or is that neutralizing it? Because it's like, I style my hair because it presents me as the professional, and I like to look professional when I show up for people because I want to be present. And if my hair isn't like that, I feel like I'm not providing the best service I possibly could.
Well, I think if you've got that example and that person, if you ask them what's the benefit of the hair and what's the drawback of the hair, if they can see both, then they're objective about it and the hair doesn't occupy their mind. But if you ask them that question, they only see the upside of the hair and not the downside, then they'll be proud of the hair and they'll be thinking about the hair, and the hair's running their life.
So they wouldn't even talk about the negatives of it.
Yeah, because they won't see them. Like if they're proud of it, then there's an assumption in their mind that it's got more positive and negative, and then the hair's actually running them, running their mind, running their life, and stopping them from being present.
So for another example would be like, if we talk about at work, it's like, this person, he or she is a BITCH and they do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 versus this person rides me really hard at work. However, it's because they want the best for me so I can get my promotion at the end of the year. And I'm actually, like, I hate it right now, but I can see why they're doing it and how it's going to get me to X, Y, Z. So they're actually objectify it and explain it without having, I guess, but in that moment with what you're saying, but what about the emotion, like the way they say it? So like, like she's doing it for a reason, and I can see that because they've been communicated to, and so they just rehash what they've been told. But then so that's the mental, but then the physiology shows you otherwise. And probably to give context, I remember ages ago, we were walking down the street and we were chatting, and Kate goes, like, I went away on holiday with someone And Kate was like, oh yeah. She like, just like you could tell in the tonality and the body language that she made out that she was fine, but you could tell that she wasn't fine. And you were like, you're still jaded about that, aren't you? And she was like, no, totally fine. And you're like, then what's with the tonality change and the body change? And then she's like, God damn it. Well, like, I really wish I could have gone on my own. I think it was unfair that I didn't go. And then you were like, but could you have actually gone at that time? You're like, well, no, that's why he went with the other person. And then she was like, you could tell the body language completely changed. So when the language and the mind say it's fine, that's when you look at the psychology, the physiology as well.
Yeah. Because in that example, you could tell from the physiology that what she was saying, her words didn't match her tone and her gestures and whatnot. So you can see there's an imbalance there between what she's saying and her body.
So to extrapolate more would be, I'm doing affirmations like, because my next question is, what are your thoughts on motivation videos? Because, you know, you listen to 20 minutes, you get your pump up, you're like, yeah, let's go. As you've said, you've got your supporter's a video. And so then it's like, okay, I've got to have my guard up. There's going to be some challenges, right? If I'm not neutral. So a lot of people are like, I'm doing the affirmations, I'm doing what I was told, I'm getting my pump up, I'm getting G'd up, let's go. And it just keeps happening. So I guess if I'm listening to motivational music to pump me up and G me up, should I look at how my body is performing at the same time as well? So once like boom, 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 all right, let's go. Off we go versus, all right, all right, we're done. Now I'll start with my day. Like one's like the body language is there and the other one's like, okay, I've done the 20-minute drill. Now the day should be fine. Because people, I think I'd say there's a lot of people listening to a lot of this stuff, but the way they finish and the way they then carry the rest of the day, it's like, oh. Or as Kate said, I remember Kate saying to me, she's like, you've stopped doing your morning routine. I go, what are you talking about? I still get up, I still do my thing. She's like, no, like your arm is not on. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, you start your day and it's like, hey, we got a problem. What is it? Versus like if someone's really in the state and listening to music and it's actually doing its job, they actually aren't fazed by those obstacles or challenges because like they're able to stand out of the mind. So you agree with that? So obviously the physiology, if it's changing in its state. So if you feel that everything's good here, your body should represent that same state.
I mean, that's why I like to focus on like understanding what's the thing that drives the person, because then when they have challenges, it's like they want to take on that challenge because it's like that's a meaningful challenge for me.
Yeah.
Instead of kind of listening to the motivational tape or whatever it is, because that'll get them feeling up and good. But then if they then go into something that they're not really inspired to do, they're just going to fizzle out again.
Yeah.
And so that's like, for me, that's like a temporary way, but the more that you can understand what that driver is for you and focus on that, you don't need the motivation because you're inspired to do the thing.
But then how long does someone need to do something to actually make the change? Because, you know, like you said with DeMartini back, he did a 3-hour stint with the woman. There was no more grief. Though there would be times where she would be challenged and there could be remnants that come back up. You know, you ask yourself the question, but because it's new to her, she's not as well prepared as what you or DeMartini would be, right? And being able to catch herself.
If we're like, so the example you're giving is the lady that went through the grief process?
Yeah, so like people can go through this process, like, or it could be anyone like myself. It's like these things, we work through it, but is there a way that it could come back?
So you've got content in your mind. Let's keep the same example. It's the lady with the grief. So if with grief, the typical pattern is someone, if it's a death, for example, someone close to you is now out of your life. There's certain things that they did that you liked that are now missing. And very commonly, there's a law in the universe that says energy is never created or destroyed. It just gets transformed into different forms.
Yeah.
Very commonly, there's one person that used to do all these things, and now there's multiple people that are doing a little bit. This person's doing a bit. This person's doing a bit. If you put them all together, they're doing what this person used to do. But we overlook it. So in the example with that lady, if we look at, okay, who are you grieving? And that they say this individual, and then we need to be very specific with it. If we find, okay, what's one thing that you're missing about this person? And they say, oh, I'm missing the sense of humor. If they then go and find everyone that's now demonstrating a sense of humor, if they find it to the same degree and it's not missing, then it's complete and it's not missing. If they don't find it to the same degree, they'll still think it's missing and there'll still be remnants. But then with the grief, there's also the attachment. So when the person that used to do it, the way that they did it was all positive. So they're seeing more positive than negative. So then we need to go and find what were the negatives when they did it. So you take the attachment off of it. But essentially, you can get to a point where you see the sense of humor that I'm grieving, the loss of. I can now see that there were all these drawbacks to the sense of humor equal to the benefits. Now I'm not attached to it. I see both sides of it. I now see everyone that now took on that role. So it's not missing. It's just there's now 10 people doing it. It used to be one. And so now my awareness is everyone that's doing it. So now I'm not missing it. I can see both sides of it. You can get to the point where you're completely balanced that perspective. And in that moment, you'll have a certainty in your mind and it's complete and it's done. And you'll have a knowing for sure. If there's a question or I'm not quite, then you're not quite there yet. So there's a science of it. It's a mathematical process that if you balance your perception completely, there's a certainty of mind, and then you won't be dealing with that challenge again. But if you're working on something and you don't quite resolve it, you'll have that thing come up again and again and again until you perfectly equilibrate your perception on it. And then when you do, you go on to the next thing.
So it really doesn't come back up because you've recalibrated into your state until like if there's another death or another grief process, but that's because that person has other traits or attributes that you need to obviously work on to see like the positives and negatives and how it's fulfilled in your life with other people.
Yeah. Anytime that you lose something that you're admiring, you're going to have a grief of that thing because it's can be anything. It can be a person, it can be a drug, it can be anything you're seeing more positive and negative of. If that gets taken out of your life, you're going to grieve it because it's missing. I don't know where it is. Until you complete that and you go and find the new form of it, you're going to be missing it and you're going to have a grief of it.
Okay. Cool. And I guess because that can be like, for a lot of people is, and that's where definitely you would come in, is like how to help people work through that. So if they're feeling a bit confused or lost, it's like best time is to jump on your site, fill out the questions and be able to see what those values are to you and then really unpack them in the book. There's the book as well by DeMartini, which I've got, The Breakthrough Experience, A Revolutionary New Approach to Personal Transformation, March 2002. Is there any new, as you said, they're quite similar laws. So there's trends that come and go, but there's quite like you've got these laws and principles that you follow. Is there anything new that's come out that's made you go, I can see how that applies to add more to your repertoire?
Well, there's always different like modalities and ways of doing things. And like things that I would learn about to see things from a different perspective. Like, for example, I was talking with someone who does, they're a chiropractor. And so they were just showing me when they have someone come in, they do cupping and they do chiropractic and they do massage. And so like just seeing that there's a lot of different modalities out there, and it's like everyone's got modality that kind of works for them. And so the more that you can kind of understand the values of the person and you can see what drives them and then choose the modality that fits that person, the greater the success. Like sometimes I have people come in and they'll struggle with answering questions. And so then it's like, okay, I want to figure out what the value of the person is. So then I can then tap into getting them to answer a question. So then I might move out of questioning and I might move into just chatting about their life for a bit. So yeah, I don't know. Everyone's got different things that they resonate with, different modalities that they resonate with. And so I think the more ways that you can see a problem, the more tools you've got to solve the problem. So you're not just trying to solve everything with one tool.
So how's your day?
Question. What was that?
So how's your day?
Yeah. It was great because I'm on here with Carl.
And I'm looking at myself. What's okay, we're going to move into the next one. Is what is on Andy Campbell's mind? What's going on inside that luscious hair of yours there, sir? That noggin.
I see the world through the obviously mindset lens, and so I love understanding that. And so I'm typically having a conversation and work out what the values of someone is.
Right.
So
what have you unpacked? What are the values we've got in this call?
Well, obviously for yourself, it's learning and growth is a high value. And so you're constantly talking to people, finding, okay, how can I get to the next level in that area? And then I see that's kind of reflected in Vitruvian. Your people come into you for weight loss or whatever, but then you're helping them get them onto the growth journey and how can they improve their lives and whatnot. And so on my mind at the moment is how whoever's running the business or the organization or whatever, their values are going to dictate where it goes. So people might come in for weight loss, but then they might come out with an expanded awareness of their own growth or whatever it is.
What else? What else have you extrapolated from the questions we've asked today? I like you're bobbing a bit more.
Yeah, I've got one of those exercise ball things.
Exercise ball. Oh, so your value is health and fitness and core stability. Very nice, very nice. Or just constantly not staying still.
Yeah, maybe it's that movement thing you were saying about Tony Robbins.
Ooh, maybe coming over to the other side, eh?
Not the hype side, though.
Just say yes. Join us. Join us. Join us, Andy. Actually, side would be, what are your thoughts on subliminal messaging, seeing it every day? So like what I'm doing is, I'm doing a lot of leadership and communication. So I've joined like 3 programs to learn from 3 different peoples to see slight different styles. And it's interesting, Tony Robbins one is they actually send you a welcome pack. So I got a hat and it says blessed. And I used to have a hat last year that said focus. And it was really interesting. I used to focus on a lot of things. And I'm like, not all of these are positives. So I now wear a hat that says blessed. And it's like, everything is an opportunity or a blessing to learn and grow. So like positive or negative, I'm like, great, it's a blessing. And it's funny, the first month I'm like, God, blessing, whoa, it just feels ooh. And now I'm like, no, it's like a blessing. I don't really care what people think. Like it's their choice to be offended by the word. Where I used to think, if I say it, someone will feel like judge me for it. So like I see it every single day. Like subliminal messaging of like changing the state. What are your thoughts? Personally, not based off my example.
Well, I think the more that you see something, the greater the perspective of it. So if you're seeing something every day, you become more comfortable with it.
So would you get a hat that says business and just look at it every day?
Well, I could. It's not going to change my values so much, but it will, like, I think with the blessed one, it kind of changes the perspective that you look at it, right? Because you're seeing it from a blessed perspective. So I don't think it's going to substitute for what your values are, but I think it's like if I saw business on a hat every day, then it's probably going to change my perspective of business, or whatever you're seeing every day, you're going to think about from different perspectives. And so if you're seeing blessed and it kind of makes you feel, but then you see it every day, it's like you're seeing it different contexts, and you're going to be seeing it in positive and negative contexts, and it's going to work on dissolving the only negative perspective of blessed.
What about a hat that says change your values? You see that every day.
I don't know what that would do.
I feel like I should change my values. I don't know why.
It would be a weird experiment to try.
Maybe you should wear a method.
A method?
Yeah. So everyone knows that Andy obviously spelled with an A, and D Martini is D. And so we were like, oh, the method. And this is when Andy was thinking of business names. And we were like, you should have a method. And I looked up, there's actually a thing, there was the company name for Demethod was not available for sale. I'm like, you should buy Demethod and a method, and then you have proprietary limited to these companies. He's like, I'm going to go with Andy Campbell. But he had the ability to go a method because it's a method. And actually, I bought the rights to the domain of the method.
Of the method?
Yeah, I have the rights to the method still.
What are you going to do with it?
Make a method eventually.
Okay.
Or I can sell it to you for a nice price. Neutralized price, of course.
Do you have a method in mind?
Yeah, the right one.
Okay. I would be interested to see what pops up on the method in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, the idea is really like most people are time poor, but most people are like, so many people are lazy or don't have time or they're busy. But it's just like your goals that you set yourself. This is my theory, and I'd love your take on it, is like people are lazy or complacent or whatever it is. And, you know, I say make bigger goals is what I would say. But then now that I think about it more, it's like set realistic goals to your authentic self, talking with you. Because a lot of people would be, you know, we help 300 people change their lives. Cool. Yeah, I should do that too. That sounds like a pretty good goal, but it's not actually mine, someone else's. Where for me, it's like my dyslexia is like typing 300 on a keyboard is really hard. Like I got to stretch out the finger and it's harder versus if I just do 1 and 3 zeros, then it's 1,000. Like I don't have to work as much, or like 350. Oh, it's like make it simple, 1,000. And it's like, why 1,000? Well, 10 people divided by 10 people is 100 people a person. You know, one person for every 20 minutes, you could have someone doing a full-time job. That's how you get to 100. So like, can break it down more logically. Or for someone, it's like, I want to lose 10 kilos. Oh, I'll lose 10 kilos. Yeah, but you only have to lose 5 kilos to be like when you were your best. And I was talking to Reese Adams about this. Is like, he's got an idea, which is pretty cool, is that like most people, like your height, so whatever your height is, your ideal weight is that weight, give 5 or 10 kilos. So like my ideal weight is 76 kilos, he said, but for me it was like 85 to 90. So, you know, for me to lose 10 kilos would have me outside of my authentic self versus losing 5. But most people just say 10 because someone else said it and did it, and it seemed to be more admirable. And that's why people aren't able to hit their goals, because it's not aligned with themselves. Because they don't ask the real question of like, what do I really want? How do I really want to get there? Concepts, other ways, like why are people lazy and not achieving their goals? What's your take?
Well, that height and weight thing was interesting. But if someone's lazy and not achieving the goal, it's like what you said just before. The goal is not aligned with what they actually value doing. Because if you set a value to go and serve people in Vitruvian, it's easy for you because you value doing that. But if you set a goal to, I don't know, go and run a marathon, you might not enjoy running a marathon as much as coaching people. And so you probably put off doing the marathon, and you'd probably keep coaching people and think, oh, I'm lazy and running a marathon. So I think aligning the goal and seeing, if you see how the goal helps you achieve what you actually are interested in doing, you've got a high probability of following through on the goal. Like a lot of people will set a goal from a place of, if it's a weight loss, they're not actually inspired by training. They want to lose the goal. So they're setting it based on the result they want, but they're not inspired by the work. And so then for that person, they need to see, how is doing this work helping me achieve what I love to do? And if they see a connection with that, then they love doing the work, and then the outcome's not a problem because they love doing the work.
Is that how you used to talk with people in sales for the personal training? Like, how did you bridge the gap for them? Because people come in, they want to lose weight, but I've got to train 4 times a week. How did you look to bridge the gap? So they're like, I should train 4 times a week. Yeah, I can see how this is going to work for me.
Well, it's picking up on what's their number one value. It, for me, is the key to it, because everyone you talk to is going to tell you about their number one value in like 2 sentences. Because it was like, you'd be, oh, hey, how's it going? And they'll be like, oh, my kids. It's like, okay, obviously they got a value on the kids. So let's say you're talking to a mum. So every person is going to tell you about whatever their value is, because they value it. They want to share it with you. So then it's just listening to the person. What do they keep talking to me about? Okay, let's say it's the mum and they keep talking about the kids. Obviously, the kids is a value. So then my job is to show them how training 4 times a week is helping their kids. And if they can see it, then they're buying it. And if they can't see it, then they're not buying it. They're not interested because they can't see the connection.
Okay. What else is on Andy Campbell's mind? Actually, yeah, that's a question. Why do you put your potatoes in the fridge versus in the cupboard?
Do I?
I don't know. Do you still do that?
I put them in the cupboard now. Did I used to put them in the fridge?
Just put them in the fridge.
Are you sure that was me?
Yeah, it was you. I put my potatoes in the fridge.
Really?
Yeah. So for the context, I remember being at Andy's place, and Andy had a date. And don't ask me why. I don't know why she was going through your cupboard in your fridge. She's like, why do you put these here? And you were like, oh, when it's cold, there's more resistant starch in it, which helps with weight loss. And she was like, huh?
I don't know if that was me, because I don't have a complex understanding of resistant starch.
You do now.
Reese. This sounds like Reese Adams.
I remember there was some food, and you were just like, I don't know, I just like it there.
Oh, it might have been, was it chocolate?
Maybe. Why? What are you doing with the chocolate?
Because now you talk about it, I remember there was something I was putting in the fridge, but now I can't remember what it was. It might have been, I don't remember what it was though.
Excellent. So we've agreed that you put something in your fridge that should be in a pantry. Okie dokie.
Yep. It was when I was in Richmond. It might have been chocolate. I'm not sure what it was though.
Where do you live now?
I'm moving around quite a bit at the moment. I'm doing a lot of dog sitting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm in Melbourne in Toorak.
I love it. Toorak. Nice suburb. Do you have the dog? Is the dog there? Can we see the dog?
It's a fluffy white dog, but I'm not at home at the moment, so I don't have it with me.
Whoa, Andy, how can I be a supporter when you don't have the dog? Oh,
I post a lot of photos of that dog.
I look forward to receiving that photo and putting it on this chat. So other than not having the dog, that'll now be on your mind and wondering what food you put in the fridge versus in the pantry. What else is on your mind?
I'm thinking about how does Vitruvian incorporate mindset into their personal training deliveries?
If I had a magic wand and you could have whatever you want, what would you wish for? And just know that we would have talked about your goal. So your goal is to get stronger, and you want to be in a maintenance phase. So your goal, you want to be stronger, but you're in a maintenance phase with training at the moment. You'd like a little bit of muscle, but you're happy with where you're at. All right. And then, so based off your goals, I would go, okay, cool. So how committed are you out of 10?
10.
Okay. So
actually 9.
Okay. So a 10 would mean you would do whatever it takes to get to your goal. And then a 9 means that you would probably get there, but you probably perceive there's a problem. So like, what is the difference between a 9 and a 10?
Well, 10 would be like, if there's like opportunity to talk about mindset and stuff, I'll put that in front of the goal. But if that doesn't come up, then I'll do the goal.
Okay. So question would be, what type of people get asked more questions? Healthy looking people or unhealthy looking people?
Get asked more questions?
Yeah. Have more conversations, connect, network with more people.
It's an interesting question. Maybe healthy looking people.
Okay. And people that achieve their goals and that, go above and beyond, or people that just stay where they are?
People that are, achieving stuff and going above and beyond.
Okay. And with that, I have enough information. So, okay, cool. So if you were in a position that people would ask you questions in regards to mindset, you would prioritize that over your own training.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though you know that a happy, healthy body can do more for longer, right?
Yeah.
So if you were a 10 out of 10, you would actually have more energy to do what you want, but you have to really commit to your own self, right? So you need to at least commit say 3 times a week to yourself so you can then do more for more others.
Yes.
So we would agree on that. So the question I would ask now is, if I had a magic wand and you could have whatever you want, what would it be?
A happy, healthy body.
Cool. Most people would say something else. Like the thing is, when it comes to training, a lot of the time we talk about, what's your goal? I want to build muscle. I want to get stronger. As you said, you want maintenance. However, maintenance means to stay doing what you're doing. And the thing is, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to slowly, except to stall and die. But however, most people, we never say that. No one's like, I want to do what I do so I can, over the years regress. And the irony of it is everyone wants to, so others will say they want to push harder and harder so they can achieve the goals. Though really you just want a happy, healthy body. And what is a happy, healthy body? Because we've talked about strength and maintenance and your goal, right? But what is a happy, healthy body to you?
To me, it's just a body that is functioning optimally and allow me to have the greatest opportunities and not be hindered by symptoms and issues.
Yeah. And so strength is typically a numerical number. So it's like, how strong are you? It's like most people would look at bench press. I bench 100. It's like, cool. Well, that would be based off your body weight strong plus. So if you wanted to be strong, you've achieved your goal. But the real goal is to be happy, healthy. And happy, healthy would be, one, being strong is the ability to control full range of motion. So being able to work all your joints through full range. And if you can do that, your posture looks bigger, stronger. And therefore that allows you to connect with more people because your posture actually doesn't fit the norm because the norm is blah. So now you have that greater posture. So with your training, it's not about strength and maintenance. It's actually about achieving the optimal norms for all lifts. And when we look at lifts, it's like, actually, I can show you. So I can actually give you the cheat code. And this is how we look at mindset. It's because a lot of people say, I want to be strong and I want maintenance. It's you don't. That's just what we've been sold and told. It's just really unpacking. This is where we look at what can we really be doing to help you, which is the same way of getting everyone to where they want to be. Consult form. How much do you weigh?
87 kilos.
7 kilos. So now if I show you. So yeah, now based off that question, I know what questions to actually ask because it's not about the strength. like it is about strength, but it's finding out now, because strength could be just benching. Like what most coaches will do is like they'll test your bench press. However, based off your body weight, we should be able to do all these lifts. So we're looking at push, pull, like we look at legs as well. And so based off this, you can get actually a picture of where you're at. So like, what do you do, when you do dips, how much do you lift?
For how many reps?
5. 87, so that'd be 97. What do you bench press?
Bench press for how many reps?
5. Everything's 5.
5. 5 reps, like 70, 75.
Cool. Incline bench?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Chin-ups? Do you attach any weight to yourself?
For 5 reps?
Yep.
No.
So just body weight?
Body weight, yeah. Body weight I can do, I think 6. No, I can do 8 for body weight. Thereabouts.
Barbell press?
Barbell press. This is like your shoulder one.
Yep.
Barbell press 45, 50.
Ease bar curl. So that bar that you bicep curl with.
The bar's like 7.5, right?
Yeah. About 10.
10. So like 25.
Cool. And then dumbbell curls, neutral grip, 60-degree incline bench.
10.
Each side, so that's 20. And then tricep extension on the bench.
Tricep extension 30.
Cool. So based off this, if you look at the percentages, and if you think of these are press movements, these are your presses, and the others are your curls and your pulls, you can see that naturally when it comes to your back, you're stronger when it's pulling versus when you press. So you maintaining where you are has an imbalance based off this chart. So you can see like where you're at. And ideally, if you wanted to be like happy and healthy and you want to be sound, you actually want everything to be level. So when you're training, you may be, like most people, we've got anterior like a kyphosis, so everything's forward, so everything's tighter. So we actually need to open them up and then strengthen them and improve that range of motion. So if you're maintaining an imbalance versus where you want to have more balance and structure, which would have a change on your posture.
What was that?
So if you look at this, does that look like if you were to draw a wheel, this would be a pretty bumpy ride?
Yeah.
So it's just looking at, because your goal is not so much the strength, but more the health and fitness. So you're looking to have balance. That's like probably what you mean by maintenance. So working on your goal is more to find out where are the gaps to improve, because like you're only as strong as your weakest link, just like mindset. It's like if we focus on the same thing, like the mic, then we're not going to be able to see the other opportunities.
Yep.
So that's how we use mindset.
Yeah. No.
Anything more complicated, we refer out.
Okay. It makes sense. It's like in my mind, I'm like, oh, maintain is like the same amount of muscle, but then you're seeing it from a perspective of I'm not seeing this imbalance here, that imbalance there. So I actually want something different to what I'm saying I want.
Yeah, you say you want more muscle and strength, but it's like, well, you want to improve health and fitness. Like a happy, healthy body is not like this much muscle, because everyone's got muscle. Like you can be the guy in KFC eating popcorn chicken. I'm sitting at 30% body fat, but naturally I'll also have muscle that's got to carry me around. So it's like, is it more muscle? Because more muscle actually increases the stress on the body, because now you've got to carry more of it. Yes, when you're training, better contractions and aesthetically looking more pleasing, but that's still a stress on the body. Yeah, it's positive, but it's not like it's still a thing you've got to carry. So you're not like, I want to carry 5 kilos more muscle because it makes me look good naked when I'm, out and about. Because you can change your state and your posture without adding more muscle.
Okay. So you find that working on the posture is more return on investment kind of thing?
Whenever you train, it's funny because I've come more to the point of doesn't really matter. Everyone, there's 150 different types of methods and training programs out there. Spitball, there's more, say there's 150. Everyone has their own approach to it, but if anyone gives anyone a program, you're gonna have a result, positive or negative. Yep. Right? It's just the one, what's the best plan? It's the one that works. But when it comes to beginners, everyone thinks of these fancy ways, but if you give a beginner anything, they'll get a result. Now, when you've got someone like yourself who's done it for many years, a lot of the time people think it has to be fancy, but a lot of the time, if you still give them the fundamentals, they'll still progress.
Yeah.
So it's really finding out how, this is the magic wand, which I like, is what is it you really want? And then talking to that so you align with the program. So it's when I'm doing the program, I am doing these exercises because it's to work the imbalances that I'm not aware of them because I'm not experienced. People usually, we've talked about, have to experience pain. It's well, no, you don't. You don't have to experience pain to make a change, which is what we talked about. Most people feel a bit of pain. They get to the point where they take some action, but then they're not ready. It's how do you get them? And as you said, you have that conversation with them to be personal. And then you find out what their value is and you go, okay. And then you talk to them from there.
Yep.
But how else do we apply mindset? Well, actually, here's an idea for you. Hey, Rusty, if you're listening, this is Rusty Clark's idea. There's something I like, is that what are your thoughts on mental health? You'd say, how there's mental health days?
Mm.
And it's the are you okay?
Yeah.
His idea is we're going to lock people in a gym for 24 hours and we're going to make them train every 3 hours.
Okay.
Because you can't escape mental health.
Okay.
So every 3 hours, you wake up. It's charity. The idea is it's for charity, but it's a group of people, and the idea is they commit to training 24 hours, and for every hour they stick into it, people contribute money to it. I think it's a great idea because you can't escape mental health because we all have a mental side.
So this is to what is a charity event?
Yeah. So yeah, how do we work on mindset? We lock people in the gym. We don't let them out until they have a change.
What's the purpose of it? Just to raise as much money as possible?
No, to lock people in the gym. So when you ask me next time, how do we work on the mindset? I just tell you, we don't ask questions. We just lock people in the gym until they make the change.
Okay.
No, so what are your thoughts? The question I would ask is, what are your thoughts on because are you okay is a great way to start the conversation, right? Are you okay? Though it's my belief that I think it's good to start, but it doesn't empower the individuals to have the conversation. You've been studying mindset coaching, so you could be hey, are you okay? Someone could go, no. You go, are you happy to tell me more? Let's sit down. Let's talk more about it. What are your values? And you can guide them. But then there are people that see a sign and go, oh, it's are you okay day. Are you okay? This is such a fun day. We just get to ask everyone. But then there's that one person that actually is suffering inside. But because people keep asking them the same thing and don't go any further with it, they then just become, they're just, I'm fine. because they don't actually want to address it anymore because it's just surface level and no one's actually taking them seriously.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Those types of programs, or if you were to do it, would there be anything you would tweak or do to educate power?
Well, no one's going to divulge any information unless they feel like they're going to get something out of it, right? Like if someone comes up to you and they say, "Are you okay?" and you don't want to tell them about the thing, then you're just going to say, "Yes, I'm fine." But if the right person that actually is genuinely interested asks them, "Are they okay?" then there's a probability that they're going to open up about something. So the idea as a whole, more people are going to have a conversation, so more people are going to open up about something, and so that's positive. For me, it comes down to education. For me, it's like the more people understand mental health, the more they can talk about it. The more there's a lack of understanding and there's no education, the more you're in the dark, and the more you're in the dark, the more emotional you are, the more you want to hide things. But for me, it's like I think education around mental health and the mindset should be in schools. Like that's ideally what I would be doing. So then people understand themselves, understand how their mind works, understand what drives them, and then they've got a high probability of maneuver them into an area that they can then take advantage of their potential, and they can live an inspiring life for themselves. So education is, for me, like the most important thing, and having more education around mental health. But the idea of having the "Are You Okay" day, I suppose it's a step on the way to that, because you got all different levels of awareness of it as well. And that's the thing. Like you can talk to, if I went and talked to a 10-year-old about mindset and I don't talk at their level, they've got no idea what's going on. And then if I then talk at their level, then they can follow it. And so everyone's perceiving "Are you okay" from their own level of perception. And some people it's going to hit at the level they need, and other people it's going to go over their head, and other people they're not going to understand it. And so it's going to hit a percentage of people, and that's going to start a conversation. So probably better to do it than not do it. But then I think the most important thing is education, so people understand the mental health.
And also understand that whoever you're talking to, look to talk with them, not at them. So talking at their level.
Yeah, 100%. Understanding where they're at. And then I think your question before is a great question. Like, if you had a magic wand, what would you change? Because then it opens up to, oh, this is where their level is. This is what they're focused on. And then when you start there, then you can get somewhere with them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just go in there and you say, oh, look, hey, I'm the PT here. You need to be doing this and that. Then you're not going to get anywhere because you don't know where they're starting from, kind of thing.
Anything else on Andy's mind?
Not really. I don't think so.
Are you going to look up Remarkable Twos?
I've looked at it. There's a few like features and stuff, but it's like pretty much everything a Remarkable 2 does, you got in a Remarkable 1. So it's like, maybe they should have spread out their features.
JB Hi-Fi has got one for $900 for $850, or you can get one for the same price, a Remarkable, for $500. That's great. Buy it from their website. It's $250 cheaper.
What website?
Like Remarkable.
Oh.
JB Hi-Fi is selling it for $750. Remarkable is selling it for, actually, I think it's an American site, so it's in American dollars. That would make sense. That's why JB Hi-Fi is $750. But you could also get it with a leather pouch. It's $900. Oh, how much is a Remarkable 1?
Can you still buy them?
Don't know. Let's find out. Which one's better? I love it. Remarkable 1, the first generation paper tablet. Currently unavailable. Boo. Yeah. Probably just gotten rid of it. Outrageous. Remarkable 1 for sale, eBay. You can buy a pen for $15. Book Folio, Remarkable 2, paper tablet. Remarkable 1 tablet, $500. Comes with a sleeve. $850. Remarkable 2. There you go. Now everyone knows about Remarkable. Worthwhile investment, you believe so? $900?
I think I paid $500 initially when I bought Remarkable 1. 600. It's great though. I put all my notes in there.
Better than paper?
Yeah. Well, actually, that's what I used to use before. I used to use on the coaching calls they used to do back at Wolfpack. I just write on a piece of paper and then I lose them all. So it just collates them all into a tablet. So that's great.
Okay, cool. And Andy, what's next? What's next on your agenda? The business.
Next is building out a kind of like a mental gym. So it's like you know how you go to the gym and you do exercise,
mental toughness.
Yeah. So it's like a mental gym. It's like a physical gym, but for the mind.
I like that.
Yeah.
You should talk to Owen Hallam.
Okay. Is he into mental gym?
He has a program that helps build mental fortitude.
Okay. It's basically around getting people training their mind as well as their body.
We've got an event with him on the 22nd of Feb. You should come along.
22nd of Feb?
Yep, 6:30 p.m.
You're doing a
event. You should attend.
Online or in Sydney?
Online.
Okay.
Send you a link. Yeah, it's in Sydney for 1 hour.
Okay.
Okay. So mental toughness or mental gym. Are you doing that on your own or are you doing that with someone else?
Doing it for a friend. It's introducing the concept that people will do a physical gym and that's a norm in society. But then training your mind is as important as training your body to build the mental resilience as well as the physical resilience. And so it's it's bringing that into a norm like it is with a physical gym. So the idea is people are then starting to see mindset as something that you're wanting to train and do every week, just like you'd go to the gym every week. Like people understand the benefit of training 3-4 times a week, whatever it is, but then they won't typically work on the mental side until they get a mental symptom, and then it's time to do it.
Yep, that sounds cool.
Yes.
Well, Andy, it's been great having you. I love how a 2-hour call is 3 hours. I did plan for a little bit longer, which I always enjoy. Alrighty, well, Andy, how does someone get in touch with you?
Well, you can jump on my website, andycampbell.com.au/drive, and do that questionnaire to identify your values. What is it that drives your behavior?
Yeah.
And then I'm also on Instagram, Andy_Campbell_mindset_coach.
And
they can find me there.
And then side note, have you read The Values Factor?
Yeah, great book. That's what I'm constantly talking about is values. But the values factor goes into how these values are like the thing that drives your behavior.
Yeah. And that concludes the episode with Andy Campbell. Doo-doo-doo.